Good day, everyone. This is Sydney Lefofe of SL Podcast. I'm very excited again today to be sharing information with you, the information that is meant to change your life and make you better. We are on another important topic today, which I'm very excited about. Beware of trauma. It may last for a lifetime. This is what we really need to understand, and we are going to ponder on this one so that we can see how much we can help those who are traumatized by the issues of life. Everyone goes through different kinds of challenges in life. This is a fact. And they differ by magnitude and severity. We go through different things. This is how life is, and this is the processes of life that we need to be aware of, and we need to understand, and we need to make peace with the reality that is before us. Some challenges can be traumatic in nature. They can change everything about us. They can change our lives. They can impact our now and our future. This is how traumatic some situations and some circumstances can be. And we need to understand that whenever these things happen, we need to be aware of what is happening, and we need to know what is happening in us, the changes that are happening, so that we can be able to work on them and not allow them to have serious impact in our lives. In most cases, we don't choose what we go through in life. We don't choose the life events. And there are times where things happen because of what we did or our mistakes. And if it is like that, we need to be aware that we are paying for what we did. We are paying for our mistakes. We need to be aware, and we need to differentiate every event in life, how much we have contributed and what is happening, and how is everything affecting us, and how our lives are being impacted by what is happening. It is never easy when we go through all these challenges. When circumstances are happening, when traumatic events are happening and we feel the pain, we sometimes feel we can just close our eyes, and when we open our eyes, all these challenges will just disappear and we don't have to go through anything. Whenever we are faced up with trauma, the pain sometimes is unbearable. We don't even know what to do. We don't even know how to act. And we need to be aware that a lot of people can't even handle the traumatic events and the traumatic situations. They break down and they allow traumatic situations to shape everything about them. They succumb to pressure. These traumatic events or situations, they take over and they possess them. And we need to be aware that it doesn't always have to be like that. We don't need to succumb to all these pressures. We don't need to succumb to the challenges that we go through. Some of these things, they affect our mental health because it is just too much pressure. A lot of people crumble. They have mental health issues. They just can't process everything because there's just too much pressure around them. As much as many people crash and crumble under traumatic situations, there are other people who go through all these things and they get out on the other side whole and unscathed. We need to be aware and we need to know the difference of the people that crumble and they crash under pressure and under traumatic events. And we need to be aware again of those people who endure and who go through all these things and get to the other side, still whole. Some people will go through all these things, and we need to understand this. Same experience, same environment, different individuals, and different results. Same environment, different people will get out different outcomes. This is the reality of life, and this is what we need to understand. There are siblings who can be born in the same environment but pan out differently. We respond differently to different kinds of trauma and different kinds of experiences. And we need to know, we need to process all these things and know why other people are crashing and why other people can hold everything together and get to the other side better. Other people go through the traumatic events, and at the end of it all, they get to the other side of life better and having learned the valuable life lessons which they can use in the future. These people become unbreakable. And we need to be aware and we need to process all these things so that we can be some of those people who can go through anything and get to the other side unscathed, still whole, in one piece. No mental conditions, no mental issues, having held our ground to the end of everything. We can process all these things and we can get to the other side still whole and being ourselves, having gone through all these challenges, all these turbulences, and still whole and unscathed. The difference between who get crushed and who crumble and those who stand and get to the other side unscathed is something that we can learn from. Like I said, same environment, same experience, but different outcomes. We can learn a very valuable lesson from all these things. And it is an open knowledge that every now and then we experience challenges. Because life is just like that. It keeps flipping from bad to good, and from good to bad, or from bad to worse. That's how life is. And we need to make peace with the fact that life will keep flipping on us. It will keep changing on us. And we need to be aware of this thing, and we need to be ready to face up everything that life will throw at us. Even though many people always wish to avoid challenges, some people will pray that all these negative things will never come their way. But the truth of the matter is, there are life events that we can't change. People will always die around us. Pandemics will always show up from somewhere. People will turn on us. People will reject us. All these things, they happen because they are part of our journey on earth. And we need to be aware. We need to be ready to face up with everything so that at the end of the day, we don't get broken. We don't get crushed. We don't get to a point where we don't function. We malfunction because we went through a traumatic experience. This is how we are supposed to be looking at life, to say, come what may, I need to get to the other side whole and okay. It is always important to put life into perspective from time to time so that we can have level heads, or so that we can be level-headed to process everything the way we are supposed to process it, because it is very important for us to understand all these things. So for us to handle all these things better, we need to always put life into perspective. It is very critical for us. Whatever we go through, we need to understand this thing is common human experience. Someone from somewhere is going through the same thing and may be handling it even better than us. Maybe even their situation is even bigger and more complex than yours. And whenever we come through all these traumas, whenever we go through all this trouble, we need to be aware that some other people are going through the same thing or even worse, and they're still keeping up shape, and they're still doing the best they can to stay calm and not to succumb to pressure. Whatever thing that is troubling us is within human resistance. We can stand against everything that is thrown at us. Whatever experience that we go through in life, it is within human resistance. We can still stand our ground and win the battle. The fight is not lost. When we do what we need to do, we put in a little bit of resistance against whatever is thrown at us. We shouldn't allow ourselves to crumble. We shouldn't allow ourselves to peel off layer by layer until everything is done with us. We need to hold our ground. We need to be there, present. Trouble will always come. Challenges are part of our journey on earth. We need to be aware of that, and we need to understand it is very important for us to hold our grounds, to stay focused, and to understand this thing is within human resistance. We can stand against this thing and win. We can get to the other side bruised, but still surviving. Pained, but still surviving. Traumatized, but still surviving. We need to understand all these things. We can get to the other side scarred, but still surviving. We don't need to go through all these mental health issues because we are going through challenges. We need to be aware, and we need to understand all these things are part and parcel of our journey on earth. We shouldn't give merit and accolades to the challenges that come crashing on us. We need to stand our ground. We don't need to succumb to pressure for us to end up letting go and giving up the fight. We need to be there in the present. We need to be present. We need to be there. We can do this. We can win. We cannot allow ourselves to succumb to pressure. We can fight until we overcome. Traumatic experiences, traumatic situations are always going to come. These are part and parcel of life. But we need to be there, and we need to overcome. Every challenge that comes our way, we need to understand there is always a way of escape. Trouble won't last always. We need to understand this. we are just going through some of these things. They are not permanent. Like what Dr. Maya Angelou once said, every storm runs out of rain. Nothing lasts always. It doesn't matter how strong the storm is, it will run out of rain. And it will automatically cease because there's nothing that is pushing it anymore. This is life. It doesn't matter how painful we may feel when we're going through challenges. It is just a matter of time. The rain will stop and the storm will stop. The thing that is feeding what is hurting us will lose energy with time. And we will come to a place where we realize the peace and the calmness that we want. And unfortunately, we should be in the right mindset to realize and to enjoy it while the storm is over. Some people can't get to that because they'll be dealing with the after effects. We shouldn't behave in challenges as if they are permanent. Nothing lasts always. We just need to process all these things properly. We need to understand that whenever we are going through challenges, these things are just temporary. It doesn't matter whether it takes weeks or it takes months or it takes years. But at the end of the day, the storm will end. And we should be in our right mindset to be able to pick up the pieces from there and move on. There are people who get paralyzed into inactivity because of what happened in the past. They can't live on. They can't do what they can do because their past experiences left a sting in them. We really need to understand that we need to process things properly. We need to be able to shake off the dust and move on with life. This is how we are supposed to be reacting and responding to the traumatic experiences that we go through in life. We need to put life into perspective, that it doesn't necessarily mean when we go through traumatic experiences, it is all over with us. It is over when we think it is over. But if we can put life into perspective and have a positive mind to say, I'm going through a challenge, but it will pass and my life will get back to where I want it to be. This is how we are supposed to be processing everything. And we should always have hope for the betterment of our lives. It is very important. We must admit that traumatic and destructive experience may hit our flesh. We may feel the pressure, we may feel the pain in our flesh, in our bodies, but it doesn't necessarily mean this thing will finish us off. We have gone through a lot of things which we overcame. As children, we went through some challenges which we overcame. We didn't have power then. Now we are adults. We should be able to be handling things better and knowing that this is the processes of life that we need to go through. Our lives will get to normalize again. It might be the new normal, but we need to be ready when things calm down that we can get to normal again. And like I said, it might be the new normal. It can't be the same because obviously we have more experience. Life has changed. And we need to change and accept and embrace the new normal because that's how life is. We should and we must always avail ourselves for the new experiences in life. Because life has changed. So things that are going to come our way are going to be a little bit different. We need to be open to embrace the new challenges. We need to be open again to embrace and to accept the new way of living. We need to allow ourselves to be flexible and to be pliable, to go with the shifts that are happening so that we can get to where we want to get to. This is life, and this is how we are supposed to process everything. We don't need to handicap ourselves with our past experiences. The things that didn't work for us don't need to handicap us and deny us a chance to experience life the whole new way. We should purpose in our hearts that we will not allow trauma to linger around for the lifetime or for our lifetime. We need to purpose in our hearts that the things that happened, that traumatized us, are not going to hinder us from seeing life the way we are supposed to see life. We are not going to allow the trauma to shape up our lives. Because a lot of people are paralyzed. A lot of people are stagnant. Because every time they want to make a move, they think about their past and their past experiences, and they get into inactivity. They can't do anything because they always fear that whenever they make moves, it will end bad. And we can't live our lives like that. We need to have a new way of thinking, and we need to allow ourselves to experience life the new way. Everything can happen for us if we have the right kind of mindset. We should set the conditions of our lives, and we shouldn't allow the trauma or the traumatic experiences to shape up or to set parameters around our lives. We can't allow the traumatic experiences to be our master. It doesn't have to govern the way we process and see things. We don't need to be enslaved by what happened to us in the past. We can live our lives and we can experience the new things that are set before us. We can experience the new challenges if we give ourselves permission to say the past has happened and I can open up to new experiences. And that is growth. That is maturity. We don't need to be stuck. Trauma doesn't have to form perimeters around our lives. We need to break away from all those things. We need to break away from the molds that trauma can box around us. We need to break away from all these things. And in conclusion, we are learning something from a quote from Iyanla Vanzant. She says something very profound that we can learn from. She said, until you heal the wounds of your past, you are going to bleed. You can bandage the bleeding with the food, with alcohol, with drugs, with work, with cigarettes, with sex, but eventually it will all ooze through and stain your life. You must find the strength to open the wounds, stick your hands inside, pull out the core of the pain that is holding you in your past, the memories, and make peace with them. This is something that we need to learn from. Trauma needs to be managed. If we don't manage what traumatized us, it can form in our behaviors. It can influence everything about us. It can shape our thinking patterns. We can live in fear of the unknown. We can live traumatized, not even being able to relate well not being able to do the things that we want to do because we are scared that something bad is going to happen. We need to allow ourselves, we need to allow the wounds that have been left by trauma to heal. And the only way is to acknowledge that we are traumatized. We need to admit that we need to change. We need to process everything properly. We need to make amends. We need to free ourselves from the hurt and the traumatic experiences that we went through in life. And the moment we come to that decision, we know for sure we can stick our hands deep into the wound, take out the thing that is paining us, deal with it, and give ourselves a chance to heal, and not only to heal, to make proper adjustments. We need to get to maturity where we don't have limits. We don't have anything that is hindering us from reaching our goals. We don't need to panic. We don't need to live in fear. We don't need to box ourselves with what we can do and what we cannot do because of our past experiences. Trauma is dangerous. We need to be aware of what trauma can do. It will stop us from living. It will stop us from advancing and experiencing life the way we need to experience it. It is one thing which is very useless. We just need to forgive some people. We just need to take out the thing, the thorn that is in our flesh, to give our flesh a chance to heal. This is how life is, and this is how we are supposed to be processing life and giving ourselves a chance for better things in our lives. We can get to a place where we are healed from all the traumatic experiences. We can't talk about the things that happened 20 years ago as if they are still fresh. It's 20 years ago. Let's let go. Let go of all these things. You can't talk about how people mistreated you when you were a child. You are now an adult. You need to give yourself a chance to be in the now. Be present. Do away with those traumatic experiences because they are not helping us in any way. You can't be angry for the things that happened 10 years or 5 years or even 2 years ago. How are we living? We don't live our lives in rewind or in reverse. Life is progressive, and we need to be aware that we need to be progressive. Trauma doesn't have to affect our lives for our lifetime. We can stop the cycle. We can process this thing. We can heal, and we can make progress. We need to let go of whoever brought trauma into our lives. We can't live in retrospection because life is progressing. Thank you very much.